Hello and welcome to Dairy Pod. I'm John Penry from Dairy Australia. In this episode, we hear from Sarah Crosthwaite, a dairy farmer and mental health social worker from northeast Victoria. In 2023, Sarah was awarded a Nuffield Scholarship that has allowed her to travel the world and see what other countries were doing regarding mental health promotion, particularly in the agricultural sector. Sarah speaks with Gardiner Foundation Communications Manager Meghan Lodwick about what she has learnt and the impact of her Nuffield experience. Please be aware that this episode contains themes that may be upsetting for some of our listeners. If this does raise personal issues for you, there is help, and you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14 or visit Beyond Blue at beyondblue.org.au.
Hi, I'm Meghan Lodwick from the Gardiner Foundation. Gardiner is an independent, not-for-profit organization. We manage an investment fund with a vision for thriving, vibrant Victorian dairy communities where people want to live, work, and invest. One of our programs is the Nuffield Farming Scholarship. Nuffield Australia awards scholarships each year. The scholarship is a unique opportunity for a dairy farmer to choose their own topic to study and step out of their business and explore the world to find new best practices, ideas, and resources. Today I'm speaking with 2023 Nuffield Scholar, Sarah Crosthwaite. Sarah is a dairy farmer and accredited mental health social worker. She chose to study how different agricultural sectors across the world support their producers' mental health. Welcome, Sarah, and thanks for joining me today. Now, before we get into it, can you please tell me a little bit about yourself and your background in the dairy industry?
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. My background starts from Diniliquin, originally from a small sheep farm. Didn't know anything about dairy for a very long time until I met my now husband, Stuart, and we're 20-something years down the track where we now run our dairy farm in the Kiewa Valley. We've grown the business. We've got 4 wonderful staff members, been producing lots of milk, and very, very happy with the industry and what we're doing now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, it sounds like a long kind of, just a lot of time in the industry. And so what kind of made you go for the Nuffield or decide to do something like that?
Yeah, so great question. And as much as I love kind of being in the dairy and part of it, I probably prefer people more and really enjoy the sort of social side. And I'm fascinated around people and stories and what makes people tick. So really probably around the millennial drought for us, and then obviously the Murray Goulburn milk crisis, I could really see a shift in the dairy community and people around kind of their mental health and wellbeing. As you said earlier, I'm an accredited mental health social worker, so I've got that interest. So the Nuffield sort of scholarship came up, and I thought, well, we talk a lot about how we can improve the industry from a farming perspective, but for me, I really believe that if we don't have the farmers farming, it doesn't matter how good, all the other resources that we need to look after, the key investment, and for me, that is the people. So that started my long journey of the Nuffield.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, farming really does come down to people, and your topic is on mental health. So what have you experienced so far? What have you learned so far?
Yeah, I've learned a lot, actually, which I suppose I was kind of looking for a golden nugget, and I haven't quite found that, but I don't know if they exist. But what I've learned is that it doesn't really matter if we're sitting in northeast Victoria or if we're sitting sort of somewhere else in the world. I've been fortunate enough to sort of travel the world. We seem to have very similar problems or stresses across agriculture in every country I've been to. So there's that collective stress, but what I've learned is that people are dealing with them in different ways, and that's been exciting to see how different countries and people react to certain pressures and stresses.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you have quite a background in mental health. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I've been working in the industry for, many years, too many to count. I started off many years ago as a Lifeline counsellor. Then I went and did my social work degree, and I've predominantly worked in counselling roles and did a bit of time working with young children, and then have worked mainly with adults. And the majority of my work has been with farmers and rural communities. So supporting them, especially after natural disasters and so forth.
Drawing on that, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that the agricultural sector kind of faces when it comes to farmer mental health in Australia?
Yeah, so a lot of the research suggests, and reports, and you look at surveys that are done from all sorts of different agricultural services and mental health services, and just from talking to enough farmers in my long career, financial pressure and stress is absolutely massive. Weather, which is unpredictable, we've seen that especially in the last kind of 10 years with floods, fires and droughts and everything. And I think another one is government regulations and restrictions that maybe in Australia we're not seeing as much yet, but definitely in other countries I've seen a lot of that. And I think that's something that we as Australian farmers need to be thinking a lot more about, so that we can be proactive rather than kind of reactive, because I think there will be a lot more requirements put on us in the not too distant future.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely heard that a lot at different events and gatherings recently. What advice do you have for farmers that are experiencing mental health challenges, or those that maybe have family members that are struggling?
Oh, that's a great question, and we could be here for another hour.
Fair.
I suppose, and hopefully people have heard it, but I suppose that real thing of reaching out, talking to someone. I think talking to family and friends is a really great first step, but I would say that if you try that and you don't feel better, or you're not getting the things that you need, to actually go a little bit deeper and be brave enough to ring your GP, talk to them, or Google a local psychologist or mental health social worker or counsellor or something. Ring TAC. There are services out there, so kind of don't put your head in the sand. Be brave, because once you do and you lift that burden off your shoulder, I can guarantee you will feel better.
Yeah, for sure. And so you have been studying in different places of the world. You've been to New Zealand, Canada, France, Poland, Ireland. You've had a lot of experiences looking into your topic and mental health. I'm curious, were there any sort of best practices that you saw overseas that would be relevant here or helpful here? Yeah,
I think they were, and the one that really stands out was probably in New Zealand. And we have to remember New Zealand's a very small country, so there are reasons that maybe it works so well there, which could be challenging for Australia overall, but Victoria as a state, I think, could really adopt it. They have a program called Farm Strong, which is really around mental health promotion, giving great advice. They do community events, they go to field days and all that sort of stuff, but their online resources and short videos and content is, I think, the best that I've seen, because it's very tangible, it's very relatable. There's parts that you can read, but there's also lots of videos for people that don't want to read as much and so forth. But they do a very good job of promoting mental health and wellbeing in farming communities. But what they do exceptionally well is that they partner with another organisation called the Rural Support Trust, and they really do the linking of, okay, if you've tried all the things around, 5 ways to wellbeing, if you've tried talking to your friend, if you've tried all the things that we know people are trying and what the advice that constantly is given to them, but you're not feeling better, we can link you with the Rural Support Trust, where you can get some extra professional help around. It might be around some financial literacy and understanding. It might be around some psychological first aid and support. It might be around getting an agronomist onto the farm to help. But all those services are there and they're linked together. So there's that real network and support where one organisation's collaborating with the other rather than working in a silo. And I think that's kind of the key. Then the great thing with Rural Trust is that they're also able to say, you know what, some of this stuff is actually a little bit more than we can handle. Maybe there is some significant, you know, psychological trauma and you need some really specific support, then they've got really streamlined and easier pathways to support people into seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist or getting into the local mental health services. So there's a lot of support all the way along, rather than we can take you this far and then, sorry, now you're back on your own. So I think that's probably for me so far been the stand-up one, and I'm very excited. I'm heading off to Scotland next month, and Farmstrong in Scotland. Scotland has taken the Farmstrong model from New Zealand and are doing it in Scotland. So I'll be interested to go over there and see how it's working in Scotland as well.
Oh, for sure. That's fascinating to be able to, especially since you've seen it and you'll kind of see how it's sort of been.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Do you go with the same group of people that you've been traveling with so far, or will there be a new kind of group of people, or?
So within Nuffield, they sort of split it into two sections. There's the individual travel that you do for your individual topic. So when I'm heading off to Scotland, I'm doing that by myself. So that's all, every meeting and everything that I do is all related to my topic. For a month, for a 4-week period, each Nuffield scholar gets put into a group, and the size varies. My group had 12 people, but we were catching up because of COVID. And that was a 4-week trip where we went and looked. We went to Argentina, Ireland, France, and Poland, and that was looking at agriculture broadly. So, you see everything and anything. So it's not necessarily about your topic, but what I did find was every place we went to has people. So my topic was very relevant in every place. And you have beautiful hosts that you stay with, so you get to kind of immerse yourself in the country. So you get to have those individual kind of conversations and dig a little bit deeper about your individual topic. But you also learn, I didn't know a lot about the EU and how kind of all that worked. And now I have a better understanding than I would have had 6 months ago.
So has that experience changed the way that you view mental health in Australia?
Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How so, do you reckon?
Well, I think it's made me look at definitely what's happening in other countries. And, if, as I said earlier, if government restrictions and so forth sort of are imposed on us strongly or more strongly, how that might impact people's mental health and well-being. So for me, a lot of what I'm thinking about now is how can we be proactive? How can we prepare ourselves? It's, it's a little bit like the CFA when they sort of talk about the fire preparedness plan at the start of summer. Like, what can we be doing so that when things come along, they don't hit us as hard? We talk a lot about resilience and bouncing back, but for me, it's like, well, let's kind of get ourselves really prepared so that we don't have to fall as hard and then bounce, as hard back. So I think learning from other countries and seeing what they're doing in Argentina, they don't have very great mental health services, but they have their community, farming community is very strong, and that mateship is incredible. And to a degree, I think Australia's not losing it, but we're so busy with technology and we're making things so advanced that we kind of are forgetting to slow down. So there's always takeaway moments from every country. Absolutely.
That's interesting. You talk about that mateship in Argentina. I mean, there is something to be said for farmers talking to other farmers and having that understanding, would you say?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And I think, so with Argentina, their financial situation is so up and down on a daily basis, and quite complex, and I still don't have my head around it fully. But talking to a lot of the farmers there who sort of said, at least we can kind of come together. They have this drink, I probably won't pronounce it properly, but it's mate, which is kind of like a tea, and it's very symbolic, and it's quite a ritual. It was quite beautiful to watch them all drink it and share it. And being connected and talking about those things, and, you know, saying, yep, okay, well, the dollar's bad today and whatever, but being able to really work together as a community and lift each other up and support each other. And also there's a lot of sharing of, you know, tools and implements because they don't have maybe all the amazing technology that we have. So that slowing down, obviously, you know, if anyone's been to Argentina, they'll know that they eat so much meat. So long lunches, which, you know, on our farm, it's race in the door, grab a sandwich and race back out. But I think there's something to be said about actually just slowing down and being present in the moment to get things still get done. And they've got a lot more stresses, I would say, financially than the Australian farmers. But we're very relaxed and content sort of people.
Yeah, I guess it's sharing food, sharing experiences. That human experience.
Yes.
And so what do you hope to achieve in the future when it comes to mental health in agriculture or just dairy farming or that sort of thing?
That's a great question. And I think 10 years ago, we didn't really talk that much about mental health. There was still a lot of stigma. I think we are doing a great job of talking around it, normalizing it. So that excites me to think that people are more willing and able to sort of say that they're doing it a bit tougher or they're struggling. Going forward, I would love to just see more and more people continuing to do that, to reach out and to reach out early. So often we wait until everything is really collapsing around us before we ask for help, if we ask for help. But if we were able to get people to reach out a little bit earlier when they were just starting to feel a bit of pressure, just to have, sometimes you just need to have one or two conversations with somebody different to sort of get it off your chest. So to be able to do that, for people to be able to do that would be amazing for me. And obviously for services to, you know, not work in so many silos would also be great.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess that kind of reverberates to every industry.
Correct.
I mean, that's interesting. You say that indicator being trust and knowing when to reach out. Is it about venting to somebody, or is it about kind of just even talking to your partner and saying, I'm feeling this, or what does that sort of look like?
I think it looks differently for everybody, because some people might be able to vent to their partner and their partner might be able to kind of, you know, go, yep, I hear that, and how can I support you? Other partners might not know how to deal with that. And some people might have a good friend, a great mate that they can ring up and just say, gosh, you know, I'm just feeling a bit with everything. But there's a lot of people, sadly, that don't actually have that or feel that they have that safe person that they can talk to. That's where I think reaching out to external supports is really important, because it's confidential. People are trained. It's not so much about, sometimes when you talk to a mate, you can find that you think, oh, okay, I want to share this. And you might start sharing your story, but then somehow the mate kind of comes in with, oh, you'll be right, like we've had, you know, worse weather than you or something, and all of a sudden it becomes all about the mate, and so you can feel like you haven't been validated or heard. When you talk to somebody externally, they're trained not to do that. It's not about that person, it's all about you. And so often people just want to actually be heard, and even though we think our friends, as friends, we think we're listening to our friend, sometimes we're not. So I would say if you feel like you've tried to reach out to a mate or multiple mates or your partner, but you still feel like you're not being heard, then, you know, step out of your comfort zone and try something different, because there are people that will listen, that are trained to hear you. And I found a lot of kind of male farmers I've worked with, they just want to be heard 2 or 3 times. They want to realize that, yes, it's normal to feel this and it's okay. And you're allowed to be a little bit scared that things are falling off, but actually talking about it, getting them off your chest is is often all that people really need.
Yeah, I think that's important because it is important to be heard and not be judged or have somebody also sort of, like you said, make it about them and share their experience. And then you don't feel like you've fully, gotten yours out. I guess, so you are actually an accredited social worker. You studying your master's. Has this experience made you want to practice or do anything different in the future in terms of mental health?
Yes, absolutely, I suppose, is the kind of the answer. Well, when I started the Nuffield and before the Nuffield, I was working for a not-for-profit organisation, and I heard a lot of people say there's no services, there's no support, and that got me really interested because, to be really honest, I wasn't run off my feet. I was busy, but I could have been busier. So why weren't people reaching out was kind of the question that kept rolling around in my head. And I think there are a number of reasons, but I also realised that I live in Victoria. We're very privileged in Victoria. I mean, yes, people do have to travel, but compared to Western Australia, Queensland, Northern New South Wales, we are able to access services quite, I don't want to say quite easily, but, we've got more services available potentially. So it made me really look into what services are there and how can we be working to support farmers better. So I think that there's a lot that industry can do, but I also think there's a lot that other service providers can do, and we all need to work collaboratively together. But yes, after my Nuffield, yes, I will be sort of going out on my own and setting up my own private kind of counselling service offered, and only working with farmers and farming families because there is a real need for it, and there's not a great deal of us who are not only trained as specialists in mental health and that understanding, but also have lived life experience of what it's like to be on a farm. So, one of the biggest things I hear from people is, I went and saw someone. I said, you just need to take a 2-week holiday. That's not always going to work if you're a dairy farmer, and I understand that. So, having that practical understanding of what it's like to live and work on a farm, I think hopefully I will be able to relate to farmers, and they will hopefully feel somewhat more supported.
That's fantastic. It makes sense just having that shared experience.
Yes.
Being able to kind of have that space. I guess my kind of a final question, what do you think is the biggest impact that these experiences have had on you so far?
Oh, that's a great question. That you're never too old to learn.
That's a good
yeah. And, I am an older Nuffield scholar, I suppose. I'm, right on the edge of kind of the age bracket. I'm grateful that they gave me the opportunity, and I would say to anyone that's thinking about a Nuffield that they might be at the older age of the Nuffield bracket, still apply, still give it a go, because there's plenty of us out there. But yeah, you're never too old to learn, and I learn a lot from my younger Nuffield scholar friends. But the opportunities and reaching out and just, you can read a lot, you can learn a lot kind of over the internet, absolutely, but there's something about tangible conversations around people's kitchen tables or standing in their paddock that you can't unlearn. And I think the gift of learning and being brave enough to continue to do that hopefully means that you're a more rounded, well kind of educated person that can support other people, whether it's to do with mental health or whether it's to do with, agronomy or whatever it is that you're interested in.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Sarah. Look, thank you so much for your time today. It's really just been really awesome speaking to you and learning everything about, what you're doing, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great fun. Really appreciate the time.
To find out more about the Nuffield Scholarship and apply for the 2025 intake, please visit gardinerfoundation.com.au/Nuffield. We have also placed this and other related links in the episode notes. If you have questions or ideas for future DairyPod episodes, you can get in contact with us by emailing dairypod@dairyaustralia.com.au. Thanks very much for listening, and bye for now.